One and all, how you doing? Welcome to the live after what would have been Christmas holidays or Christmas gatherings. How did your Christmas gatherings go? Very well, I hope. I hope everybody had good times. I certainly did. It was very relaxing, actually. Um, it was just me and family and so forth. Yeah, really nice. Very relaxing, very enjoyable. Great times had by one and all, I think. And yeah, how's the energy been for you this week? Has it been okay? Revelations is the order of the day by the sounds of things. There's been a lot of sort of understandings or tribulations or epiphanies or knowings or downloads. Depends on how you sort of speak about it, really. And for me personally, they seem to be like personal revelations more than anything else. And it's on that personal side of things. It's not, I don't mean personal as in sort of like relationships and so forth and personal sort of side of life. It's very much more sort of like that are personal to me and my life and everything like that. I was wondering if everybody's been having the similar sort of things, understanding the inner workings of what is going on or what we have been, what we are, and what we can be going forward as individuals. Because it seems to be, as that revelation comes through, as the understanding comes through for us as individuals, it's like those machines that you put like a penny in or something like that, and then it drops down onto a moving shelf, and that pushes other pennies out. It's that sort of like knock-on effect that I think is going through the energies. Very calm for you, was it, Lynn? How you doing? I think it's been very calm as well. It's this beautiful energy at the moment, which if you look at what's going on with the sun, there was an M flare that came off the other day. It went off behind the Earth, so it's making the Earth energy a little bit more sort of lighter. That's what it's going to be doing, and so the Earth energy that's coming through should be a little bit more sort of like a gentle spring breeze. So yeah, it's been very calm, I think, and that when it is calm, that's a really good moment to sort of see what's going on, And revelations start with individual revelations, as far as I can tell, and once it starts with the individual revelations, then it starts moving on to collective revelations, and it's not going to be on a billboard, in black and white. But it could well be, actually. I say that, it could well be as well when you're traveling down the road and you notice something, you kind of go, oh, what? That just triggers the whole sort of tuk, 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 tuk. Where you can start, dealing with your own revelations on a personal level, but also on a collective level. And that time of going back to the Earth, this week on the Messages from Energy was, it's the first, I've noticed that there's been waves of energy before that have come through the system. Hello, I'm talking about waves. Little wave, you turn up. Hi, how you doing? A pleasure for being here. Just got on. May not be able to stay on long. Working on a project, but we'll try. Well, good luck. Your pathway is the most important pathway. You're always going to be able to find this at some point, little wave. It's always lovely to see you, of course. You know what I mean? But if, life is for living. So yeah, but pleasure to see you here. Yeah, and it's like, so we get these waves that are coming through. in this sort of understanding. And as it comes through, it's like tribulations, as I said, may not necessarily be for everybody. And people who are looking at the collective may not necessarily turn around and recognize the tribulations or the revelations that are happening at this present time. Morning. Hey, morning, yes. Hi, Vita, how you doing? Nikota, lovely to see you. How was everyone's holiday, by the way? Did you have some nice downtime? Because that's what the energy's been like, as Lynn was saying earlier on. It's been calm. It's very good sort of downtime. Reconnecting with everything and everyone. Absolutely beautiful. And I did say about sort of 2 weeks ago that, I think it was 2 weeks ago, on the Messages from Energy as well, that it won't allow things to stand up that are going to be creating illusion and delusion within the world. And I think there's going to be a lot of, to maintain a delusion, it's got to be like a drip feed within the system. And, when you look at the human existence at the moment and the way in which we communicate, and I mean communicate in a collective sort of sense, and the way in which we explore social or spiritual or energetic sort of ways of being, you can see that this drip feed needs to be fed by consistency. Excuse me. Tail end, as it were. And this drip feed, I think, is going to start failing in major ways. And they're going to drop, a lot of things are going to drop the ball. So if you're trying to create a delusion in the world, you have to constantly sort of feed the narrative, as it were. And I think this narrative that's being fed generally to the world, regardless of what you think of that narrative, is going to have complications. And which is going to create big gaps of blimey sort of situations where, there's going to be, mass moments of realizations in large groups of people. And within those large groups of people, once you've seen, you can't unsee, as it were, And that's when I think the snowball effect is going to really take place. Now, this is not just a revelation that's happening for us as human beings. I think it's happening for everything at the same time. Julie, hello. Been a weird last couple of weeks. Right, okay. Still having things to just pop into my head from ancient crossed to burial chambers. Other than that, very chilled. Okay, so yeah, burial chambers. Wow. Sounds a bit like I was near West Kennet. I don't know if next to Avebury, they've got this long barrow, and it's supposed to be sort of like a burial site and stuff like that. Not so sure that it is, right, personally. Because if you have West Kennet that then goes on to Silbury Hill, it's a way of blocking the energy for Silbury Hill, then you can then funnel it into Avebury circles afterwards. But yeah, that sounds mad. Does it give you revelations about, revelations about who and what you are and, and what you can be? Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. Over the past 2 years, this is from Vita, over the past 2 years or so, I've found myself saying, I had a revelation. It was a sudden change of wording for me. Okay. And that is a revelation within itself, is recognizing that we're going through this moment of understanding. And it could be I think we started off with truths, and I said 2025 was going to be the year of truths, and I think we've gone through a lot of that. I don't think we've excuse me. I don't think we've come to the end of that. I think, that was just the first year of recognizing it, the truths that are coming to the surface. And I think 2026 is going to chuck in some really weird stuff that's going to make even more truths come to the surface. Has been a bit up and down for me. This is from Chrissy. Been a bit emotional and weepy at times. Nothing drastic, just cleansing. Nice. As long as it's nice and it's good and it's evacuating something, that's brilliant. Tears can be actually quite poisonous if you're taking on somebody else's tears, the composition of them. But it is a really good way of purging things, and I would never be scared of crying. I actually, funnily enough, I had a bit of a cry session as well. Yeah, just thinking about it. Wow. Yeah. That was about my grandmother. I had a revelation about my grandmother. Nothing about her or about me. It was just about what happened, and it was a real first time I really did a release of energy from my grandmother. Lovely lady. I'm married to obviously my grandfather. And he was the most loveliest of man as well, and the pair of them were very lovely people. So yeah, I had that. There was a bit of emotional going on. It's quite, it was great. It was really, really nice to get it, to really touch that emotion again. Well, I didn't have it because she had Alzheimer's for a very long time, very, very long time. We're talking 20 years. And I didn't see her for the last section of the last sort of 3 or 4 years. I was young. I was concentrating on a lot of other things at the time. And my mum said, go and see her. And I went and saw her. And when I walked into the room, she was on the bed and everything like that. She couldn't really do anything. She's almost mummified in a way. And, and I got next to her bed and she just grabbed my hand and then wouldn't let go of it for 2 hours. Couldn't really, she couldn't speak or anything like that. We had a great conversation, and then she passed away soon after that, very soon after that, in fact. And it was, my way of sort of saying goodbye. And I hadn't really, I knew she was going and everything like that, but I hadn't really let it out. And I let it out over the last few days, and that was really good. It was really good. And I got a funny feeling that because that's when she regrouped. Because when you have Alzheimer's and stuff like that, which can really disperse your soul a little bit. It takes a bit of time for the spirit to sort of pick up the pieces, to be honest, and I do a lot of work with people or spirits on that sort of side, helping them pick up the pieces, get some closure on their life, So this is from Nikota, dream breaking through the veil, where I instantly woke up. Energies through my hands and fingers were holy moly, nice, and words frequencies very lovely. Okay, excellent. You're getting transferred into your naddies. That's really good. That's the best thing about doing healing and stuff like that. You get to a point where, how you can use the even down to your ear in Chinese medicine of sort of having the meridian of all of your body, and you can get the same thing in your hands and in your feet and so forth. And once you start doing healing, once you can get feelings across in really small places around your hand, it's like a shortcut sort of thing. So this is where your hands are waking up, and revelation times for you. Ain't a clue where I was, but my bloodline is important. Okay, Julie, yeah, get on it. Get on it. Align those bridges. It will align your force as well enormously. You know, knowing who we were, I think, is really important. I've come to terms with who I am, and that's fine. And and it's once we come to terms with who we are, it's much easier to look at and explore who we can be, because it gives you a point of reference of where you're going from. That's the same thing in quantum mechanics. If you know where the particle's coming from, you know where it's going to be hitting. So there's no real mystery there. It's only when you're looking at the two slits that you can't see where it's coming, and you don't know where it's going to be hitting. And that's the here and now. And it is, you've got to be in the here and now, but you've got to be conscious of the past and future. Ain't a clue. Okay, so Vita, so I had a cry session too. Did you really? Christmas Eve and Christmas Day. Wow. Wow. Was that a very good evacuation? Was it a happy cry? Because sometimes it's a happy cry, when we think about family and stuff like that. It could be that. Okay, so Lynn's got it. So we're all emotional. We're all emotional wrecks. That's what it is. You know what I mean? God, dear. Do you know, when I'm doing my sessions, when I'm live, when I'm, one-to-one in a room and stuff like that, people used to say did I have shares in Kleenex? Because I used to have like a pile of Kleenex boxes next to me. And I used to go through tears, and I wouldn't let them take this is the important thing on this. I do know why. But whenever someone would take a tissue, I wouldn't let them take it with them. So they could be blowing their nose and everything like that, wiping their eyes and everything like that. So, okay, right, now give that to me. Because I can deal with that. I don't want them taking their tears away with them. So, it's Merry Christmas, Odilia. Joyeux Noël. Right? Bonne année à tout ça. I've been getting, so this is Lynn, I've been getting a sensation in my left ear. All right, okay. Almost like a radio signal the last few days. A lot of people, are getting that sort of thing. I don't know if that's what you're saying, Marie, when you say me too, about the ringing in the ears. I've heard, I've been speaking to various people, and, a lot of people have been talking about that, about the ringing in the ears and stuff like that. And yeah, it's the change in frequency that's happening. And this is what I talk about. There's a revelation going on. And I think there's a revelation in the way in which we're understanding. And I did say this in the energy messages, that, there's going to be a revelation on the way in which we see the solar system and how things actually work. And that, when you see how things work within the solar system, it just kind of really makes a lot of sense of how a spirit works, and reincarnation and the soul and everything like that. It all sort of plays to the same tune, the same thing as planets. And so, I've got this idea of how solar systems work. So the sun creates a plasma ball that collects a lot of dust from the surface of the sun, because the sun does create a lot of dust, or collects a lot of dust. It's like a Swiffer sort of thing as it goes through space, and it collects all the dust, and then it puts all that dust around that plasma ball, which creates like an eggshell, and then it lets go of that plasma ball and the eggshell, which becomes Mercury, and the Mercury then pushes out, becomes Venus, and Venus becomes the Earth becomes Mars, Mars becomes the asteroid belt, Jupiter, Saturn, and so forth and so forth. Pluto has already dropped off the end, apparently, because it's no longer considered a planet. And Pluto will be with that ball of gas that was created during the lifetime of when it was planet Earth. Well, that's why we've got to produce as much gas as possible, because it's going to feed the sun. And eventually that ball of gas that frozen ball of gas will then smash into the sun, which then feeds the sun. And it's that perpetual sort of like infinity of life that happens even within planets as much within ourselves. So, I think we'll get a lot of this revelation sort of thing going on. Karen, how you doing? Happy Christmas to you too. I've never been the nostalgic type of person, but I have been experiencing nostalgia for the is that the 80s these days? Super étrange. Yeah. Remembering good old times. Yeah, you know what I mean? The 80s were, when you think about it, yeah, we got to the 70s and then all of a sudden from the 80s, the mobile phone hit land, and then everything just went spiraling out of control from the 80s then. Well, not spiraling out of control, but, certainly did. 80s and amazing times. Amazing times. Palm of hands are burning. Well, that's your energy coming out. Direct it somewhere. That's what I would suggest. Pick on someone who's got if you know someone's got a problem, bad back, bad anything, bad ankle, whatever it is, just imagine your hands on them and you're off and running. Marie, yeah, you've got ringing in the ears, had it for years. Yeah, tinnitus, the most hardest thing to because it's such a fine thing between various different instruments, not only the ear, but also the neck, also the pressure, the blood, your arteries and so forth. It really is a tricky one to deal with. I'm been busier than I have been in years. Fantastic, Chrissy. This is great. And a lot going on, but have seemed to have found a sense of peace and calm amongst the chaos. Fear decreasing. Superb. Serenity increasing. Excellent. Fantastic. Chuffed to bits for you, Chrissy. Look, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like the wind. I don't know if you've ever been sailing, but let's say you're sailing and you got the spinnaker out and you got the big sail that you have out the front, like the big handkerchief, and you're going in the same direction of the wind. You don't notice the wind anymore, but you're galloping along. And that's what it's a bit like when you're going with energy. It sort of feels like that. Suli, how you doing? I will speak to you in the week. Everything's kosher. Everything's good. I'll speak to you in the week. Be lovely to see you then. Okay, so KN, how you doing? Nice to see you. I think our solar system represents our human body, or resonates to this human body. Yeah, it does. It respects, when they say, God made us in God's image, it doesn't necessarily mean that God is a human being. It means the energetic image, and everything has the same energetic makeup. The emphases are different, so there's different emphasis on crown and root chakras or different chakras basically, which creates a completely different thing. But yeah, totally, I get that totally what you're saying, Kane. Today is hi and bye for me. Happy New Year to you all. Are you off, Tilly? Okay, ciao. Julie, yeah, been doing that. Felt a bit crazy, but hey ho. Do you know what? I think crazy is going to be the new sane in the future. So yes, tinnitus. It's all to do with. There's a multitude of things, as I said earlier on, that it could be with. That it could do with, and. I don't know if you've noticed a difference in when you meditate upon it or meditate with it. There is also a way of, say, like if you take the frequency, what you're looking for is the opposite frequency to play against it, so then it cancels it out, if you know what I mean. But it's like a Rubik's cube. It really is one of the most complicated things to sort out. If it's tinnitus, if you're getting it away a lot. But a lot of people have been noticing that buzzing and frequency within the ear. There's no doubt about it. Vita was feeling a lot of sadness and fighting to hold it in. Then someone innocently said something that I had overheard, and it caused me to burst into laughter. Fantastic! I just laughed. Okay. Then I cried my tears and felt better ever since. Excellent. Yeah. Sometimes you just got to let the world heal yourself. You know what I mean? Laughter and tears are the best combination. Certainly are. You know, and that's why it should be fun. And when people come and see me, it's a roller coaster of a ride. There's ups and there's downs, and but we always finish on elation, which is that whole sort of elation. So when you go for a revelation, coming back to our topic in a way, when you go back, when you go for a revelation, you should find yourself in a place of elation. And like revving your energy cycle, or you're bringing a lot more into your life, be it through memories of past lives, memories of this life, memory of multitudes of different things, an understanding of how things are playing out within your here and now at the same time, and recognizing the opportunities or the possibilities for you to explore life going forward. And once you get those sort of three things in, then it's almost as if you've got to allow energy to just whisper them together, which once it comes together creates a moment of elation. And it's revealing it's revealing something to you, an understanding. So before you go to that understanding, it's like you've got to have this moment of seeing truths. And I think this is what we've been going through over the last year. It's like there's a lot of truths that come to come to the surface, so we can then see clearly who we are and what we're doing and where we're going and so forth, but also who we are as a collective and so forth. And then from that truth, it can reveal to us, where we should be going. The moment we start stepping towards that, and if there is certain entities or so forth, be it companies or governments or whatever it is, or even collectives of people, that are obviously trying to stop you from following that pathway, then that's going to reveal, and that will be part of the revelation of what's been going on for the past X number of years, And I think it's going to be hugely empowering at times, although the world may seem to be lost and lost within its non-directional fluid. So that's when things start breaking down, and that's why I think there's going to be a lot of moments where they're going to drop the ball, and when they drop the ball, it's like the Wizard of Oz. The curtain is drawn back, and we can see the situation for what it really is. And when we see the situation for what it is, that's the truth. It just fuels the revelation, and that's what I think is coming. So I've recently become aware of the Mount Athos monks. Okay. That are in continuous prayer for the world, along with the monks' walk for peace, has touched my heart in that there is hope. Where is that in Greece? Athos sounds very Greek. Sort of thing the Greeks would do, though, isn't it? You know what I mean? When you look at the Greeks and the Romans, because they had empires pretty much at the same time, they were running the show in Europe. It's a bit like the the left and right of politics in a way. You know what I mean? They're clearly two different sides of the coin. And sometimes you kind of look at the Greeks and you kind of go, it's a shame they didn't win. But Athos. There was a really good. There was a book. Someone wrote a story. I'm not sure if it's fictional or documentary sort of thing about a healer on some island over there. I forgot what it's called. Very good book though, interesting book. I remember I must have read it about 25 years ago. My God, how time goes by. How time goes by. Yeah, so no, good idea that praying for peace is it helps, but at the same time, if we start actively living differently, the only outcome is peace. If we start, this is where the conscious revelation comes through. It's the idea that everything we do will contribute to only one outcome, and that only one outcome is peace. If you start doing everything towards that, if everybody started doing that, even in little things, and I'm not talking about like leaving your job and stuff like that. It's how you spend your money. It's where you put your penny. It's where you put your time. It's where you put your energy and everything like that. If we start doing that, knowing that doing that, the only thing it's going to produce is peace out of it. There's no other way that anything else can turn up but. And I think this is what is the revelation for this coming year. And I think this year could be it's a very revelative year coming. Get my teeth. It's a revealing year. It seems like more people are understanding the truth instead of being told a narrative to believe the truth, the collective consciousness. I think this comes from, because it's very personal. And it's personal revelations that to be, or feels that is totally true and spot on, then no one can take that away from you in a way. And then once the narrative doesn't really sort of sit up to any of this, that you're being understanding within you, then that's when, the general narrative will have to change, because it will eat itself. So I don't think we ever have to fight against anything. It's that common sense revolution that I've been speaking about for 4 years now on this channel. That's basically what's happening in the revelations. And it's, when I went down to the center of the earth, and it was like, as I was coming down, it was almost as like I was seeing like the shockwave. This is why it looked like a trumpet. I could see this shockwave it was coming through very, very quickly. This is why, sound is a lot quicker in a way of shockwave, because it's within the physical world, than with energy. Energy just sort of like this mass of slow moving wave, and it's like it takes a few days. But this was really quite quick. This is why it seemed like a trumpet. And I could just see this like boom, like a bass, like a bass speaker, just go boom, 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 sort of thing going on. And it made me, reminded me of a Bob Marley song, which was, this could be the first trumpet, might as well be the last. Absolutely natural mystic. And it just seemed to fit totally with that idea that the true mystic is nature itself, because it speaks in, not in riddles, but it speaks in its own language, which is universal but not necessarily, it's like Babel's Tower in a way. Babel's Tower had a universal language, but there was multitudes of languages that were spoken in it, and it was taken down because people were starting to discover a lot more things than they should have been discovering. That's why it was taken down. But there's that's the whole thing with nature. It has a multitude of different languages between animals and plants, reptiles and birds and everything like that. There's a language that goes between them that is understood maybe between them, but not necessarily directly translatable into other beings that are on this planet. And this is where we're starting to be part of that conversation because we pass through the nature matrix, the nature energy, as it were. And that nature energy is then transcribable in a way for every single living being, regardless of whether it's vegetable, mineral, or animal, on this planet. And that's when we come into the idea that it was Matt sent me an email the other day about talking to planets and stuff like that, and it just seemed I'd never even thought twice about it. It just seemed like a natural thing to do. I don't know, and he says, "You're the only person that I know that's doing it," and I kind of go, "Why are we not?" It just seemed. It was a real sort of like the moment. So and I think that natural mystic is what is going to be really important in 2026. And that's where the understanding, the common sense comes from. It comes from adhering to something that is non-judgmental but actually plays through everything, which is energy. Energy is non-judgmental because it doesn't actually have an objective. It doesn't have an agenda. The only agenda it has is to explore different expressions of energy. That's all it has. And so it doesn't have an agenda per se, which is a fantastic thing to use as a between so common ground can always be found, which is really good. I'm getting the feeling it will be important for healers, light workers, etc., to resonate their frequencies, as there will be some very large worldwide psychic shocks. Prepare to ride the wave. Yeah. Thing is, I wouldn't even say it's their frequencies. It's not the frequencies of the healer or the whatever. It's because the frequencies that are going to be coming through are going to be like exotic frequencies. So, and it is riding the wave. That I totally get. But it's a case of, it's riding that energy, which is going to be important, and helping each one of us to do that by riding the wave is the best way to do it. Once you start riding the wave, then other people sort of kind of go, yeah, I can ride the wave as well. I can ride the wave, and then we're all riding the wave. So, we're all doing it, I think, and that's what's got to be important. It's the idea of a pyramid is finished now, is over. The time of the pyramid is come and gone. But yeah, there is going to be some worldwide psychic shocks, I think, as well. I totally agree with that. And I think the ultimate wave will be the geological sort of changes that will happen in the coming years. It's very similar to Netter's. Netter's, is that right writing of it? Netter's working with our energies, Egyptian ancestral. And I just said the end of the pyramid, but I didn't mean the pyramid like that, but the social pyramid. That's what I meant, because the pyramids itself could actually play a really good role of keeping this planet stable. The thing is, last time, a lot of the pyramids and the stone circles were used as a I don't want to say weapon, but it's very similar to that, sort of thing. And that's what that's what the downfall of that society was, because it did that. It's like having the right sails rigged for the right winds. Yeah, totally. Yeah, you know what I mean. You got if the winds are too strong, you got to batten down the mainsail. You know what I mean? And it totally can, totally. And doing it will help others, because automatically they will see and then kind of go, right, okay. Riding the wave. This comes from Chrissy. Just had the Beach Boys on. Nice. Yeah, and then yeah, Beach Boys, love them. Funnily enough, this is from Lynn. I just wrote, trust the process. Totally, yes. At some point, this is, I was talking to someone else about this, and it's trust is giving yourself over to energy. At some point, you've got to trust in something, even if it's not other humans or nature, whatever thing like that. I trust in energy. I trust to know it. It knows what it's doing, even if I don't understand it all the time. And but I have this. It has reasons that I may not need to know about. So I'm pretty humble like that. Don't necessarily need to know everything that because it may not be meant for me, as it were. But yeah, no, it's trusting and giving ourselves over to that vibration that makes everything in this whole universe. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's. I think where society will drop the ball. Imagine it's a little bit like in Russia in the 80s and 90s or whatever, when perestroika came in and everything like that, and it all sort of fell down. It must have been, the scales dropping from people's eyes in that particular country at the time must have been incredible, and I think we'll get a similar sort of thing in other parts of the world. And as that ball does get dropped, it's we what do we trust in now? What is there left to believe? Not believe in, but trust, and that's where I think energy will step into play. Yeah. I've got several Beach Boys songs going around my head at the moment now. It's like a tape mix. Oh dear. Yeah, good old days, surfing and everything like that. Lovely times. But yeah, it's that personal revelation at the moment comes out of truths. It comes out of truths for me personally over the past year. Of the here, why, whens, and how, from the past to the now to the future. Those truths, and now it's almost like a judgment in a way that then allows me then to sort of reveal the next sort of wave coming through. So this is from. So we've got KN says that is what I meant by consolidate their frequency, right? Okay, exactly. Okay, cool. Find their center, yeah. Blast basis, yeah. Is that right? Basis. It is trust in what you know that doesn't change. Hold the line. Trust the journey. Hold the line. Trust the journey. Totally. Yeah. And it is holding the line. It is, because sometimes, this is it when I was saying earlier on, sometimes like we don't understand because it just goes completely over your head. There's some things you're not meant to know. And, it's not why should I do this? It's just basically, should I do this or should I do that? If you start asking why, energy is going to have to stop and say, right, okay, well, look, do you remember that first planet that we created 6 billion years ago? Well, from there, and it's like the why is way too long to explain. You don't have time. You'll miss the here and now, and that's an important part of it as well. So yeah, totally, it's trust in the journey, and sometimes that wave may not be for you to take. You can just let it go through. I had a meditation session yesterday with a wonderful facilitator. Excellent. When we were asked to meet with our spirit and true self, I met with the Queen of Cups. Lovely. Are you, what sign are you again, Chrissy? Are you Scorpio? Are you a water sign? Or are you Capricorn? And so, yeah, Queen of Cups. Well, Queen of Cups is resonating and radiating, It's resonating the balance between water and land, and so that which makes incredible fertile land, water and land. You need those two. You can have all the heat you want, but without the water and the land, you ain't going to go nowhere. The seeds are not going to go nowhere. Mr. Above, hi, how you doing? You sound tired. My goodness. Really? I'm actually incredibly relaxed. I'm not tired. I don't feel tired. Thank you anyway. I'm glad you made it as well. I'm just super relaxed at the moment. I did take a week off. I don't know if you all noticed, because it was Christmas and everything like that. And I just kind of went, well, listen to yourself occasionally, Tom, and take some time off. So I took some time off, and it's been absolutely really nice. Scorpio with Cap rising. Okay. Yeah, Scorpio with Cap rising. Well, I'll tell you, that's there's multitudes of things that go in line with between Scorpio and Capricorn. It's that sort of that mental, and I mean it in the most sincere way, because obviously being a Capricorn myself, but that mental energy through the air energy is very present at the base of Scorpio as much as is with Capricorn. So there's a lot of logic going on that then filters through into logical emotional outcome, and you get that. So I can imagine that being a lot for you as well, Chrissy. So yeah, Queen of Cups works really well. It works incredibly well, because Capricorn is about land and sea and everything like that. Water and earth. So that resonation that comes out of the Queen of Cups is very much the air energy. It's that mental, it's that vision and everything like that. So it's good energy that comes out for you, and that's your higher self. Okay. Oh wait, little wave. I didn't see your question earlier on. It didn't come up. It's now come up. Did you see an increasing separation between those who live in the concrete world and watch the news and worry and believe all that is shown, versus those aiming to live in the moment and in peacefulness? So this follows on. Do you see us uniting together as one? Well, if I'm honest with you, I think pole shifter will put pay to a lot of that. If I'm honest with you, I think that revelation is important, and it will become important. And there will be certain aspects that never the twain shall meet, but there will be other aspects where bridges will be built. But as pole shift kicks in, I think, and what happens geologically, I think that's going to become much more the divining rod of the outcome, basically. So I'm not sure that I think a lot of people who understand how the world works will literally just walk through the minefield of life of the 3D world and just not getting involved. And it doesn't, it's like you walk through, you're invisible to the rest of the world. It's like if you imagine zombies, and zombies only attack people who are healthy, and it's like they can't see you, not because you're a zombie, but because you're not, you're not you're not part of their world. So I'm not sure that the two will totally come together. Oh, relax. That makes more total sense now. Okay, yeah, Mr. Bub, yeah. Good to hear you relaxed. All right, yeah, thanks. I am totally chilled. I'm totally chilled at the moment. It's really nice. I'm really enjoying that And that's reflective of the energies at the moment. There is long, prolonged times of chilledness, and then there's spikes of activity, waves that come through. So, yeah, she was sitting on a throne on the shore. Okay, and her feet in the water. Yeah, totally. She does that combination. I think that's why it's I think it's considered a Cancer card, because a crab lives half its time on the land, half its time in the sea. If you look at its opposite sign, Capricorn is half fish, half goat, and it spends half its time up the mountain, half its time at the sea. Problem with Capricorns is when they're up the top of the mountain, they want to be down by the sea, and when they're down by the sea, they want to be at the top of the mountain. Complicated situation in Capricorns. So Lynn, Capricorn, yeah, you're Capricorn, Scorpio moon and Pisces rising. Wow, yeah, I understand mental. I can get it. So that's a tough fish to land, that one, Lynn. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's made for you. You're strong enough to land it. There's no doubt about it. So Mr. Buff, as a Scorpio, Scorp's rising, I've been working with the Queen of Cups for the last 8 days. Oh, right, nice, excellent. And deep inner work in solitude. It's been very healing, fantastic. Moment of calm. It brings back that healing to you. It's absolutely great. So Cat Perryman, I'm just learning sidereal astrology. Okay. And at 65, I'm learning not Virgo, but Leo, new paradigm. Okay? Not sure what that's... I'm not an astrologer. I'm not an astrologer. But, yeah, I think there's going to be a major shake-up in the astrologic world. I think I think we will change the way in which we see how planets actually influence the vibration of the Earth, therefore the vibration of us. So I think there's going to be a big sort of shake up in that sort of front. But yeah, no, I think astrology is amazing to learn. I spent a year learning, going to once a week, going to lessons and stuff like that. It's really interesting. Huge increase in separation, and I avoid. This is from Mr. Above. I avoid it because it brings me out of my focus, growth and peace. Yeah, keeping concentrated on your pathways is very good idea. 2 different timelines. This is from Lynn. Those that walk forward with awareness and those that stay within their current way of thinking. Yep. Yeah. Just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Thanks for answering. Not meant to upset anyone. I feel a bit in this is from Little Wave. I feel a bit in the middle pulled into the concrete. Yeah, okay, I understand. Get it right. So you pulled into the concrete world, and it seems to survive, but love the other world that is peaceful, but concrete grounding helps. Well, you can't get away from the idea. This is what, I was talking about to someone else, and, some people say this is a prison planet, or this is a matrix, a computer program, or, or you can say it's a spiritual reincarnation system where we learn stuff with karma and everything like that. At the end of the day, it doesn't really matter what it is. You're still going to wake up in the morning and deal with it. And at some point, you're going to have to restock your body with energy, physical energy, because that's what it works on, because it's just an instrument. Do the 3D things that we've got to do, in life. And, once we understand that, you can be present in both sides at the moment until we get to a point where our either the technology is blown away, or the technology is totally integrated within us, or we are totally integrated with the technology. Is one better than the other? I think it's half a dozen of one, six of the other. I'm not sure. I do think there is some sort of like a real generational leap, and this is where I think we'll get the lost generation as it comes through. But it could be majorly interesting to see how it plays out. And I think this is why it's really important for us as individuals to have a good idea of what you wish to be involved in going forward. So yeah, it's caught between the two, and so yeah, you're feeling it as well, Chrissy. I think a lot of people are feeling it. Is this the one you deleted earlier on? What, WTG? I think there must be 13 star signs. Is dragon missing? Well, that dragon thing comes up once every sort of 10 years as a thing. I've been seeing it since the year 1000 of people talking about it, and it tends to come back up on the menu once every sort of like 10 years. And at the moment it hasn't really found its place. I can only fathom that maybe the dragon is like that moment when we go from one energy to another. So as the energy is circulating like that, in this sort of sense, it goes like that. And as we go through the pole shift, it goes the other way. And that moment of it going from the other way, as it were, is that moment of dragon energy. And that's when the ley lines or the energy lines really do kick into place. And this is where, it's a shame we don't have the old technology like Stonehenge and, and the pyramids and so forth. What is the capstone of the pyramid doing in the London Museum? Why is it there? Why isn't it on top of the pyramid? The pyramid as a machine, as a way of functioning, of channeling the energies, is very much broken. So you can't really use it. And, pyramids and so forth, they are on crossing points, but they don't want to be on the main crossing points of energies. Because if you're on the main crossing points of energy, you can't actually manipulate energy because it's so fixed on where it's going. It's going to recharge, and that's what it's going to do, and it's not going to be deviated from its pathway. So the pyramids and Stonehenge and stuff like that, they tend to be on nice, good crossing points, but it's not on the major crossing points like the chakra points of the earth, because otherwise it would be too strong for it. So it's on a place where it can harness the energy. That's what better than manipulating it. But yeah, harness it. Was that WTG? What does WTG stand for? What the jeepers? I don't know what WGT stands for. WTG, sorry. Yeah, so I think it could be. I think it could be that. So for the moment, I haven't seen any. It's one of those things that you kind of listen to. You go, oh, yeah, that's interesting, and you put it on the shelf, and you wait for life to sort of collaborate that idea. And at the moment, I haven't had much that's collaborated that idea of a 13th sign. Maybe that 13th sign, maybe, I'm not against it, because originally we only had 10 signs, didn't we? And then they created Libra and Scorpio out of a mixture of Virgo and Sagittarius. So before we only had the 10 months, and then we moved on to the 12 months, from the Julian Julian calendar through to the Gregorian calendar in the 12th century or something like that. And so we moved to 12 months. And, because December was the 10th month, November was the 9th, October was the 8th, September was the 7th. And then we had Julius Caesar and Augustus Caesar, July and August. That's when they put July and August in there as well. So, I think it could well become maybe visible, and I'm way up for that, after pole shift. And that's where it could become visible. But at the moment, I haven't, I haven't heard anything to back that idea up. I've listened to it a lot. And as I say, I've listened to it over the last 20, 30 years. But there's nothing else than I haven't seen anything concrete. Right, so Ties Gerrit, my name. Okay. Ritza Tees Gerrit. Yeah, I hope I'm getting that right, and I'm not smashing it up. I'm going to call you. Can I call you Gerrit? Gerrit? Is that okay? Or Ritza? Can I call you Ritza? It's just to have a name, because it'd be very nice. But yeah, so what do you think of that? Because it's I haven't had anything that's really concretely backed it up, as it were. So I'm just going back up here because I did miss a few sort of things. So Chrissy, I tried to combat this. Okay, so Vita, I didn't answer from Vita. Which sign do you find to have been representative of your characteristics? That was at Katie Kaufman. Kate Perryman. Sorry, that was to Kate Perryman. Okay, so I've tried to combat this by making my business as ethical as I can and putting good spiritual energy into the products. I think that's totally the way to go. This is where I think companies will become a lot more fortunate because they're respected a lot more. And I think respect, and it's not virtual signaling either, because this is where the companies have completely got it back end around. Virtual signaling doesn't mean jack, because people now just sort of seeing through it straight away. So it's moving on to sort of, like you're doing, Chrissy, which is absolutely brilliant. May I ask us how you would interpret, this is from Misty, the Ten of Swords in a destiny spread. Present path, placement with strength on my path as my foundation card. So the strength is the foundation card, and you get the Ten of Swords. I think you've got to, when we get an idea of our own personal truth, of what our truth is about and who we are and where we've come from and who we were and what we are and what we can be and stuff like that, you've got to have when you get that strong conviction within oneself, that's where the strength card comes in. You have to stay true to it, and you can't deviate from it, and that will obviously stop you from doing certain things that you may have done in the past that you never, that you shouldn't be doing in the future. And that's possibly where the Ten of Swords comes in. And the Ten of Swords comes with a finalization of a general realization that there's a lot of things in your life that will be dead, done and dusted with, because you had the strength to really follow your pathway. That's my interpretation of it. Katie Perriman, this is back to things both really outgoing and confident, yet a total, what would it just jump for me? Total nester and motherly. Excellent. Okay. Okay, so this is late November through and December between Scorpio and Sag. Okay. We are the technology, and AI from a previous incarnation was not positive. I am aware that we are we are a biofield. Yeah, I understand that. I get that. I get that, Nikota. I understand that idea. And this is what I'm saying. It could be the nature matrix, which we look as energy and spirituality and reincarnation. That's a system that's put in place. Um, and we can say, a computer program, and it could be, why not? But then again, as I say, you're waking up every morning and you're still going to get a cup of tea and the sun comes up and the sun goes down. It's going to be difficult to deny anything else but that actually happening, and it's keeping us grounded. So 12 planets, not all discovered yet. The 13th is invisible. 12 chakras, 12 apostles, and the 13th is invisible. That's how I sensed it. Okay. I'm sticking with the 4 and the 4. So we got the 4 physical planets, and then we got the 4 gas planets, separated by an asteroid belt. It's all symmetry and sacred geometry. And we will be moving into 5 planets and 5 planets for a time being. So we go out to 10, and if the sun can then increase its capacity, then, and size and so forth, I think we could definitely move on to 12, 6 and 6. And the 13th invisible planet is probably the asteroid belt that would be in the middle. And, that's very possible. And it's where we can move on to, more than anything else. But for the moment, and within the solar system that, that I think we're 4 and 4, 8, but not necessarily 8 chakras and so forth. Missed above. My son was born on the 14th of December and is, by old calendar, in the sign of I'm not even going to try and say that. Somehow, I was told that it's by Vedic astrology. Okay, so this is in Vedic astrology, Indian astrology. Ophiliachus, I think that's what it's. I'm probably murdering it, but yes, no problems. Ritza. So you are from Germany or something, but you speak perfect English by the sounds of it. Tara, how's it going? How did the album release go? I haven't seen anything. I didn't see any link. I don't know if it's come out yet. If you have got a link, make sure you do sort of like put it on so everybody can sort of see. I hope it all went well for you. If it hasn't already happened, and if it's going to be happening, I hope it goes well. Frisia, you're a bit late. What's going on, Frisia? We've been all sitting here kind of going, where is Frisia? You're right on time. When the pole shift happens, will the Mount of Cornwall still remain as the heart chakra of the earth? No, I don't think so. When you invert those energy lines that I have that is on the chakra lines, the only 2 things that actually go perfectly one place to the other is the root and the crown chakras. When you invert the lines, they sit perfectly in the same places as where they were sitting before, because they are made up of the same energy lines, and they're the only 2 chakras that are made up of exactly the same energy lines. So no, I don't think it will be. Normally it's it's a switch between the heart, which in theory should go where the solar plexus is, and the solar plexus should go where the heart is. But I don't think it's going to happen like that, no, Frisia. I think it's going to be it's going to be a new world. I did the same with other products. It's very good. Just for your information, you are all contributing to the good vibrations of the lavender soap. Fantastic. Yes, I'm a big fan of lavender soap. So yeah, I'm making it as we watch Fantastic. Okay. Well, look, listen up, lavender soap. Cleanse and soothe all that is used of your beautiful lavender soap. Excellent. True, the 13th zodiac sign is a very powerful and returning. I am at present doing a lot of work with the grids around by me. As a lot of disturbances with new buildings and not far away from me, right? Okay, yeah, that can obviously complicate sort of situations. There is no doubt about it. You know, do you work with dwarf planets, Tom? There's so many jokes that come to mind. Dwarf planets, are you talking about? You have to explain what you mean by dwarf planet, because I'm going to make sure we're on the right same sort of thing. It's okay, so it's not out yet. I will send you. Yeah, please do. Please do. I can feature it on a video if you want. It'd be nice to feature it if I can help you out. You know, it'd be nice to feature it. The 13th is the Aeon Sophia balance within male female divine unity. Fantastic. That's the 13th sign. Yeah, that's the 13th sign. But as I said, it's, that keeps coming back up bubbling back up to the surface. I think I saw it first back in literally 25 years ago. And there was a lot of talk about that 13th sign and stuff like that. And there was this one link that went to a NASA paper saying that there's a 13th sign. And I had it as being the serpent sign rather than the dragon sign, but that's what it was 25 years ago. But as I say, unfortunately, I haven't, nothing else concrete has come out about it, so I couldn't say, but the dwarf planets, I'm more interested in the little planets. Are you talking about like moons around other planets? Is that what you're saying? Because there's another way a solar system can take place. So let's just say 3I Atlas, a comet flying from the centre of our galaxy out to the outer Hebrides of the solar or the universal system of the galaxy. Let's just say it crashed into Jupiter. Right? And it was probably big enough it could have done this. And if it crashed into Jupiter, into the centre of Jupiter, it would spark a chain reaction which would turn Jupiter into a mini sun. And then you've got the moons on Jupiter, and the fourth moon or the third moon from in the line of planets is a ball of water, frozen water and so forth. And that can sort of like, if Jupiter kicked off, then that would then melt that planet and it will become a very fertile planet. And it would be like the separating, and it would push away from the sun, and it would be like the division of a cell. So, it's very possible that, if that's what you're talking about in the sense of dwarf planets. But I'd like to know what you mean by dwarf planets in order to go fully into that. It's called l'entremonde. Oh, nice. Between two worlds. Because that's how it is at the moment, isn't it? It's a reflection of how things are. Very, very good. On the current solar storm, it is impacting my nervous system, an energy field in a draining manner. Even with energy work, what can I do to overcome? Well, the energy that's coming through at the moment. Let me just check it out. I haven't actually. I just want to have a sort of seed check. Oh, the root chakra's got a 6.2 earthquake. Wow, that's quite a nice one. Bringing back of a normal system, bringing it back to basics. Oh, we've just had that. We've just literally, that's quite mad. Okay, since we've been going online, literally as we went online, the live, just before we went online, there was an M flare. I don't know where it's come out of. It'd be interesting to see where it's. I'm just looking on various websites. And I just want to see if it's actually hitting in this direction. Because it's at this present time going on at the moment, isn't it? We did have another one that went on earlier on. Let's just have a look. Okay, so it's on the midsection, just on the midsection, just above the equator. This latest M flare. Shall I patch you into what I'm looking at? That's probably best if I do that. Let me just patch you in. Hang on a second. Sorry about this. I will get there in a minute. I've just got to set all my windows. There you go. So basically, this is what's going on with the sun at the moment. If I take you to where we are now, can you just see where that flare just came off, that glare came off? Here it's just below this. You've got the center part of the disc. Sorry, on that section there, you can see there's the coronal hole there, and this section here, just where that cross is there. I don't know whether you can see that or not. That cross there, or that point there, just to the right of that coronal hole there, is where you can see where the flare comes off. And you can see it hitting there. So it's been going on now for the last sort of like couple of hours in a way. And you can see that it sort of like breaks out there. Be interesting to see how much plasma comes off it. Yeah, look, there's quite a bit there. Obviously, you can see there. Let's just try and see if we can put it in another phase. You can't really see much on that. See if we can get it on that. Let's zoom in a bit and see how big it is. Oh, I'm zoomed in way too much. There it is there. Just so we can see what's going on. And look at that. There's a definite thing going on there. Look. Will it be hitting the Earth? Yeah, probably. It will be affecting the Earth, and it may create that sort of like, let's just see what's going on here at the moment with this is the radio flux sort of thing. Let's just see there it is there. That seems to be it there. So, it hit whilst in the Pacific, basically. That could well be, what the root chakra as well. When it hit there you go. So we had that one there. That came off there. Yeah, early this morning. Had nothing to do with it. Very early this morning, that one there. But yeah, that's the flare that's going off at the moment. And it is, I think it will be producing quite a bit of plasma, but it's also coupled with this coronal hole that you can see just there. So that's the earth energy. That's the fire energy. And if we go back to this flare here, so let me just put in the last 3 days. This one here that happened a few days ago, that was being shot out behind the Earth, so that created a lot of air energy. So we've got this air, water, air, earth, and fire energy going on. Let's just see if there's a bit on the filament energies. You can see there's a filament just above that, which is still maintaining its place. So the water energy is holding tight at the moment, that filament energy there. But look at that corona hole. There's even more coming through as well. So it's mainly sort of air, fire, and earth. So going back to what you were saying, Mr. Above, a current solar storm, it's interacting with my nervous system. It will do. It'll make your heart go a lot quicker. It's basically the initial shock that's, as quick as, if not quicker than the speed of sound. And it's like having a pulse of electricity coming through the system. So it may increase your circulation and so forth, and it may increase your, your thinking goes into overdrive, as it were. So I would just be, making sure you're being very grounded to channel that energy through, because the Earth is going to be able to, it's sucking it up at the moment. And, we'll see, I'll be seeing tomorrow what's going on with the energy as it comes through. And it'll probably be here Tuesday. The main physical 3D part of the energy will be coming through then. So, I think it's a case of, being very grounded. Don't allow yourself to get dragged off into extremes, basically, more than anything else. Ritza, setting in a mental box. Okay, sitting in a mental box, yeah. Well, yeah, sitting in a mental box. It's knowing your parameters, knowing your limits. It's like having healthy boundaries, big time, yeah. So you're in Colorado, are you? Fantastic. The previous two storms hit hard, but this one is very different. Almost opposite with with draining my entire body of energy. That's why it could be just asking it to drive on and circulate so quickly that it kind of it makes everything fizz out, as it were. Dwarf planet, a small planetary mass object that is in direct orbit around the sun. Planets like Sirius, Eris, Haumea, I think Pluto is in that group now. Okay. I'll have to have a look into them. It's like you get like the large and the big force and the little force, if you know what I mean. And the little force can be, the weak force that they call it in physics, and you get the strong force and the weak force. And it could be part of the weak force, which gives balancing to, sometimes you get like that, like a metal bird that sits on top of the thing and it looks like it's floating in space because it's got weight that's like it's doing an opposing weight. So it must do it those sort of things as well. I think the dwarf planets act like that. The thing is, it's the magnetic field of what it can withstand in the way of like energy that flows through it. So it'd be difficult to construct a sort of an Akashic library, a return system, as it were. But it'd be interesting to certainly go and have a look at them, and I will certainly look into them and go and have a visit with them and see what's going on those sort of dwarf planets, as it were. The sun looks like an egg rather than round. Oh, that could be. Okay, on that could be my window. I might have had to squash it in order to get it in there, so it may look a bit egg-like. Yeah, but then that's my thing. Looks like a baby in a scan. Oh yeah, okay. So this is it. You get so many. You can see so many different things in it. I'm constantly seeing things within the sun. That's just amazing things. When you see, you can see faces. There's lots of things you can see. Beings, animals. There's multitudes of different things I love seeing in the sun when I'm looking at it. And looking at it all the time, you end up seeing a lot of things. Does grounding help negate the energy wave? Smaller ones, yeah. I think smaller ones, yeah. What do you mean by grounded? If you mean sort of like, sat and grounding yourself to Mother Earth, you may take it even harder. Because what you're doing is you're becoming part of the Earth, which is like a resistor to the energy. So you may actually get it a lot more. You may feel it a lot more intensely. If you mean grounded in what you're doing, grounded in what you're living, that is the best way to deal with energy waves. Because then afterwards, the energy wave, it becomes a benefit rather than something that you have to deal with, if you know what I mean. So sorry about that. It was, let me show you. It was that. It was the fact that the I had to squash the sun. Let me put the sun back as it was, so you can see what I'm on about. So it's not actually an egg. I don't want for you to be perceiving that it's an actual egg. So I can actually put it back to its normal shape. I don't want to freak anybody out here, thinking, "Oh my word, the world's the shape of the." There you go. Is that more round? Because I did it. It's playing with the sort of thing. It's just the way it's a computer thing more than anything else. So I think that's a better way of dealing with the energies coming through, is being grounded in what you're doing. Whilst you're doing your soap and everything like that, I should imagine, Chrissy, you're actually feeling very grounded in doing it. Does so Mr. Bub, natural biorhythms. Is that what you're answering? So natural biorhythms, some electrolytes needed to support the body. That's possible. Yes, there's a lot of things that that helps out. Into a death roll. What's that all about? Blimey. Okay, I'm just catching up on the comments. Do things like orgonite and obsidian help with those energies? Do you know, I'm a great fan of having the energies where they should be. But I personally prefer to engage in it au naturel, completely naked. That's how I prefer to engage in it more than anything else. So yeah, every time I've taken a photo of the sun, I get an image of the third eye round it. Okay, it's incredible. Yeah. I think there's if you go up and visit the Akashic libraries up there, they're just massive. And it is like the third eye. It is like giving out the messages where the prana energy or the chi energy comes from. That's our local distributor of it all. And I think it does tie into the third eye and everything like that. A lot better. I see a lot of faces and hearts in the clouds and I've seen a lion twice recently. The conquering lion of Judah. I can see a beating heart behind you. Can you really? There's a beating heart behind me. Excellent. There's lovely heart energy around me then. Excellent. Yeah. So revelation times, and it's following your pathway is really, really good, more than anything else. And once you start doing that and engaging with that, it's the revelations then come out within the 3D world. And the thing is, so let's put it this way, right? Let's look at it like this. If you imagine if we manage to invert totally the 3D world, so it actually then becomes in very much more in sync with spiritual or 5D thinking, would we not want to retain that world at that point there? If you think about that, then it's possible that we may see the 3D world in a different way as we go forward. I can see a burning. Oh, right, this. Thank you for all the advice. Oh, blimey! Look. It's been a scary time not getting my life force back on track. It is quite difficult sometimes getting the life force back on track at the moment, Mr. Buff. It's I think it's because this is where the energy keeps dropping out. If we go back to, I'll show you what I mean, because it's systematic to the energies at the moment. A second. It's not. You can't see it so well as what you could do last week with the energies. I just need to prepare it so you can see what's going on. So here's a KP index. This is one of the indicators of what's going on with the vibrations. And with that KP index, you can see around these points here where it just drops out regularly. And you have these intervals here where it's almost like a heartbeat, where it's very regular, but not all the time, of just spikes that happen. And then after the spike, you get a dropout. After each one, you get a dropout. It's mainly that's the way it sort of plays. And when it drops out, if you're trying to, force your, or have that life force running at full pelt, I think you're going to find it very tiring. And this is where you've got to relax and you've got to trust in the energy and you've just got to allow it to sort of like gently kind of wash through. Because if that calm energy, if you use it in a good way, it's a good way of regrouping yourself, getting yourself in a much stronger position. So when the next wave of energy comes through, you can ride it and you can take massive leaps forward. So, I wouldn't, obviously be very attentive to, what you eat and what you consume and how you relax, or you have that downtime, and it's really important to get that into some sort of rhythm as well within your life as well. And it's not always easy to do, but getting some routines in allows you sort of like to be much more in rhythm with the energy and noticing when the rhythm changes as well, which allows you to then sort of like adjust everything as you go forward. So then therefore you're not feeling like life is just sort of or your life force is being hammered, as it were. It's a lot easier to deal with it. But obviously, be very attentive about everything you put in your mouth. It's really important. Let me just sort of see. Okay. That's exactly what. Okay, so greetings from Dallas. Oh, hi, yeah. Hi, Dallas. Lewis, how you doing? Lovely to see you. Maria, isn't it? Lovely to see you. That's exactly what I said. The conquering lion of Judah. Do you know my daughter, Eva, my kids like boxing and MMA and stuff like that. They like doing it, and even my daughter does. So she's taken up Thai boxing, and her club's called the Lion of Judah. It's just like quite funny. Bit of a coincidence there, because that's coming up for me lots as well. Lion of Judah, a lot, and in various ways throughout my life, and especially at the moment. So hello, lovely to see you from Texas. When my girls were teenagers, this is from KN, when my girls were teenagers, they had friends over. One of the friends said, "There's no God." And then they saw behind him in the clouds a huge middle finger formed in the clouds, and they all saw it. Exactly, the yod of God, the yod sort of the finger pointing at you. Yeah, you know what I mean. Even as a kid, I was convinced. I didn't need much convincing. As a kid, I was well up for the existence of God. I just wasn't up for the rules and regulations about how you go about conversing with God. And I thought it was, as a kid, and I'm talking like 6, 7, I just thought it was a natural thing to do. It didn't seem like you had to go through a whole palaver to speak to God. You could do it whilst like kicking stones, walking down towards the park. You know what I mean? That's how I felt, and yeah. So it's a huge middle finger. So you're talking about the bird, are you? You're talking about the birds. You're talking about yeah. That's quite. I quite like the idea of God just doing that. That's quite funny. What have you just Googled? The middle finger, Chrissy, or something else? And here's your sign. Yeah, I think, I don't think God is sitting, I don't think God is a person that's sitting there listening to everything we do and say. He doesn't need to. We're stocking it within our own system as it is. Everything is, you will relive, in a way, everything that means anything to you or means something to your soul and spirit path up, at the end of this life. You'll sit there and you'll re-go through everything. So everything's being recorded. So I don't think God needs to listen to us, but yeah, what did you Google, Chrissy? That's what I would have liked to know. Oh, the Lion Judah was not you were not aware of it before. Oh, well, that's, that comes into the Bob Marley thing that I was singing earlier on. The conquering lion of the tribe of Judah, basically. So you have the Ethiopian Bible, which is a very interesting Bible, actually. Obviously very similar to the St. James, or King James, sorry, not St. James. King James Bible or the Roman Catholic Bible or whatever. But yeah, no, it has, the Ethiopian Bible is really interesting. I do have one more solar sign influence question. Okay. Now that we know the sun's behavior this week, how would my Scorpio moon in Cancer disposition influence this? What do you have? Cancer, Scorpio, Cancer. I actually think it could be, in a way, a little bit more trying for Scorpios and Cancer this week. Challenging, I can't even say the word, challenging for Scorpios in a good way. I think it's basically what may happen this week is living up to the expectations that you put inside your mental output. And so you've got to be really attentive about that mental output. If you make it too far, the leap too far, you're going to fail every time, and you're going to give up, or you're going to get really frustrated with yourself. Make sure the goals are possible. So coming back to that idea of doing the possible and aspiring to the impossible. And I think that's the best thing that can come in through the energies at the moment, for as much for Cancer as much for Scorpio. I think Cancer will come off a little bit easier because they have a lot more earth and within their sign, and a little bit more sort of fire within their sign as well. So you get that earth and fire that's coming through at the moment, energies, and it will be much more natural flowing, but it may create spikes and peaks within within Scorpio and Cancer. All I know is whatever God is, I think God does have a great sense of humour. You know what I mean? You look at the duck-billed platypus, man. He must have been having a right old laugh when he created the duck-billed platypus. He just put it down there and kind of go, yeah, try and make sense of that. It's like, duck-billed platypuses, love them. I can only eat 2 or 3, mind you. I'm joking. I could eat 5. No, I can't. You don't eat duck-billed platypuses. They're quite small, apparently, aren't they? They're not that big. You'll know if they're, Are they in Australia or in New Zealand? That's why I appreciate this community, the sharing of information. This is what it's all about. We all have part of the solution, you know what I mean? Mr. Above, so I'm studying the Ethiopian Bible during the week. During the week, that's good. Yeah, no, it's a good thing to explore. Oh yeah. The Ethiopian Bible. It's a lot of churches were way before sort of like the Roman Catholics got out that way, and there was a lot of churches in India before the Roman Catholics came out that way, but they were all assigned to Thomas, as far as I can tell, because Thomas went off to India in search of trying to catch up with JC. I was always taught God as another word for universe. Okay. Prayer for meditation, miracle for manifestation. Excellent. That's the way it makes sense to me. It makes perfect sense to me as well. Totally. Yeah. Is there some level of sentience of consciousness or consciousness in energy? Sentience or consciousness in energy? Yeah, in the sense that it has to explore every possibility. So there is a degree of consciousness, but not a consciousness of it's not a consciousness of what is good and bad. It doesn't see life like that, because to understand the good, you've got to have the bad and all of that sort of yin yang sort of malarkey. So it doesn't choose sides in that sort of sense, and it doesn't sort of say this would be better for the humans. It would just say this is how I need to be if I'm talking in the place of energy. I wouldn't be so presumptuous, but if energy was to sort of say this is the position I need to take going through this section of the universe in order for things to work, and taking that position in a vibration and a frequency may explode the solar system, which creates another 3-eye atlas, another part of the universe. So, I don't think it looks at it like that, if you know what I mean. It's working on a level that we're nowhere near ready to understand, in a way. So does it have like a consciousness? Yes and no. Yes and no. It is. Yeah, and no, it's conscious because it's like within a physical realm. You know, it's a bit like that. Mary Magdalene, Sarah, her daughter. Yeah, that's right. Saint-Marie de la Mer in the south of France is where Sarah and Mary Magdalene were supposed to have turned up. Yes, energy is our electrical circuit which all consciousness and dimensional energy flows, I believe. Is that possible? Yeah, most certainly is. That's what it's like the breath of God. That's basically what I say. You know, it is the reason our heartbeats do it. It's the reason, well, our heartbeats are tied into the sun. But the reason the sun is the way the sun is because of that vibration that comes through. And that and if you imagine it's coming through pulses at such speed at 22 billion million times trillion times per second or whatever it is, it gives, it's like a film. If I, oh blimey, nearly had my cup of tea over. If you had, like, if I was showing you, like flip page animation, you know, if you imagine that animation going at 22 trillion times per second, everything will perceive to be physical, and maybe not everything is physical, and it's totally not physical at all. Now that's opening up a whole new can of worms, but it is that it allows consciousness to exist within that space and time of that 22 trillion cycles per second. So yeah, no, it's very possible. That, I think, very possible. It works perfectly well with all realms of reality, physics, as much as spiritual and so forth. I've heard Mary Magdalene is one of the ascended masters. Not sure I understand who they are and if it is a thing. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of the ascended masters and stuff like that, because it's a bit of like elitism and stuff like that. I think it was set up that way because that's what we were living at the time. You know, we were living in a royal family, and it gave that sensation of hierarchy or place. And and JC, Jesus sort of said, everything I can do, you can do. No, I can do, you can do better. No. So if that's the case, are we all ascended masters? And if we are, then surely none of us are masters anymore, because you know what I mean. So but I totally agree. She knew what was going on, Mary. She knew the score as much as anybody else. As much as JC and everything like that. Just JC found himself in a position where he was ordained by the here and now to play that position, or that, and it could be anyone. It's not necessarily. It's nothing. That's special out of it, as it were. It's but yeah, it's I'm not sure if it's she was a very good healer, and she had her own way of doing things. There's no doubt about it. She was a great person, Mary Magdalene. And there was only one way in order for Sarah to live a full life free of the restrictions that, Jesus found himself in. And so they had to separate, as it were, which was pretty hard. But not that Jesus hadn't been through it already. He'd already been through that before, as Buddha. But aligned with my there we go. Sorry. Sorry, I'm just trying to sort out my video because if my video stops, I can't see the comments anymore. I sang a song. Okay, so I'm now trying to catch up with the comments because it all got paused for me. Is there some sort of good point about the masters, much like everyone being someone famous in a past life. Yeah, exactly. Not everyone could have been, you know, Edgar Casey, for example. You know, when you turn up, in past life. Thing is, not everyone could have been a certain character, but it doesn't matter. Everything has its right place. Aha! I sang that song as you did. What song was I singing? Oh yeah. The anything you can do, I can do. No. It seems okay. So yeah. It seems Mary was a companion, an apostle of Jesus in ways beyond agape love. That she was more ascended and they were jealous. The Gospel of Mary is a good read. Is that Mary Magdalene or Mary, mother of JC? When JC came out of the thing, he had the 5 Marys that that first greeted him, and it was a different type. It was a different type of relationship that he had with Mary Magdalene than with the other lot. With the other disciples and so forth. Yes, I have just recently discovered this. Okay, so yeah, sorry, Tom. I keep chatting with others in the chat and possibly throwing you off. Possibly. Don't worry about it. Byzantine scriptures show Mary as possible of having been married to Jesus. So this is Mary Magdalene. Secretly. Nah, it wasn't secretly. It was in the Bible. And had their daughter, because in the old days, in order to be a leader of the Jewish faith at that time, as a rabbis were expected to be married. So JC had to get married. Oh, my birthday. Thanking you very much, Chrissy. Very much appreciated. Very much appreciated. My belated birthday. Yes. Yeah, I think, you know what I mean? I think, thanking you very much, by the way, Chris. It's absolutely lovely. Yeah, it's like, JC and all of what was going on was a definite movement that he was creating, and there was other reasons why he was creating a movement as well. It wasn't just simply because of the spiritual side of it all and some aspects of it that, plans got changed halfway through the whole sort of situation, and there was a right old kerfuffle around, around the crucifixion and that whole sort of period there, that literally it went like that. 90 degree, it was a 90-degree turn in what was going on, and I think that's why a lot of the disciples were upset, because they weren't sticking to the plan, and had got deviated from the plan. And there's reasons behind the reason why JC got deviated from the original plan, and that's what developed the whole Last Supper, and Judas as well, who was a really, really good friend of JC, and never betrayed him in any sort of way, form, shape or form. He got a bad rap for that. Okay, so Julie was saying earlier on, on demand by the night, and Sarah, who was executed. No, she wasn't. Not on the demand by the Knights Templars. The Knights Templars weren't around when Sarah was around. They weren't around, the Knight Templars. So no, I wouldn't put it on the back of the Knight Templars. No, not at all. In fact, no, definitely not. I have a lot of Mary Magdalene at the moment, which very much like to visit some of the places in France. Rennes Chateau. Yeah. Been there many times. Fantastic. That's where the part of the what's it called? The Holy Grail is supposed to be. I had so this is from Chrissy. I had a Reiki practitioner tell me I had Mary Magdalene as a guide. Oh wow, that's quite nice. Excellent. But then she also said I had a Bigfoot. That's one as well. Thing is, right, let's say, I did do a live about spirits and souls. So a soul is made up of 6 spirits. You are the spirits who's driving the vehicle, and then you have 2 spirits that's looking after the physical being, and then you have 2 spirits that's behind them that's looking after the spiritual side, and then you have 1 spirit that's still connected to God, as it were. And in the next life you will be a guide, and one of the guides will be in the physical body, and in that physical body is also that guide there has lived multitudes of lives as much as you've lived multitudes of lives. Bigfoot may have just been a really big person. May have been just like the last life they lived. They were incredibly huge person, like what's his name, Bluto out of Popeye. I'm also finding missing scriptures that are directly related to our actual powers of healing abilities, as in Matthew 20, 17, 21, not in the Niv. Don't know what the Niv is. Not in the Niv. Don't know what the Niv is. So yeah, it's possible. There's a lot of missing scriptures as well. I wouldn't. This is the thing. Is like if you took what happened through the eyes of one person and then of another person, the story will come out completely different. Mary was an Essen. They were different types of Jews. Okay, yeah. I'm not sure I don't think she came from Jerusalem and that sort of area. I think she came from more from the east. The New International Bible. Right, thank you very much. Okay. When I'm 6 feet tall and of European hairy descent, there you go. So it may be just really someone who's incredibly hairy that they mistook for a Bigfoot. It's very possible, but why not? You know what I mean? So I would like to think of it was demanded that the Templars were ordered, that it was a very few that took the order, because yes, it makes no sense. Well, no. You're talking 1100 years between when the Templars existed and when Sarah existed. Physically, they just didn't exist at the same time. That's why it couldn't have happened. They just weren't physically. There was no Templar order at that time. So yeah, it's just not possible. So yeah, no, the Templars came around in the 10th century, 10th and 11th century, really. They came out of the Merovingian kings and queens of the Pyrenees, who became the Cathars, and the Cathars basically accepted all religions. They didn't care what religion we were from, as long as you prayed to God. That's what the difference was, and they were not very. They were taking a lot of power from the French king at the time. Then in 1252 or whatever it was, the French king, backed by the Vatican, because the Vatican couldn't be seen to be engaged in physical violence against the population. The King of France said, I'll get rid of these pesky Templars who are now threatening your power base as the Vatican. I'll get rid of them, and because the French king at the time was on a bad footing, he didn't have he wasn't holding the power as much as he should do as a king for there, and getting rid of the Cathars and so forth and the Knight Templars reinstated his position of power or control or dictatorship, as it were. So that's all happened, and that's where we get the Friday the 13th from, because that's when they burnt alive the leader of the Templar movement in the Pyrenees. And yeah, there's many places, and then not just Rennes-le-Château. There's also I've forgotten the name of the village now. There's a village that is on in a castle on top of a hill, where they slaughtered the entire village, back in the 1200s. It's more like they were forcibly. Okay. So this is. It's more like they are forcibly keeping us from knowledge that gives us access to our own self. Yeah, and they control the narrative. So you don't. If we start realizing we can do a lot more, then all of a sudden you realize you don't need an actual control system. So I think there's that plays into it. Yeah, totally agree with that. But yeah, no, it's because whereabouts are you, Chrissy? You're down in Australia, aren't you? You're European descendant. Yeah. So yeah, no, I'm supposed to be in January. I'm supposed to be announcing possible 2-week holidays where we do workshops, but also visiting all the sites in France connected to that whole sort of thing, that whole sort of Da Vinci Code sort of thing. Someone pointed out to me that Jews came from Judea as a race, that they are Hebrew. Yeah, yeah, totally. They've been around for a very long time. Yeah, a very long time. Yeah, it's like a trilogy, isn't it? Really, when you look at it, Judaism, Christianism, and Muslim, and that's one trilogy, and then you have Sikh, Hindu, and whatever in India, and then you also have like Jainism, Buddhism, and everything like that. Everything seems to have its trilogy that's based around it of religions. So it's like, that's when you look at these religious conflicts, you kind of think this is like sister and brother beating hell bells out of each other. It's just so counterproductive. it's just so counterproductive for everybody, and it's just, very strange and very weird. But anyway, we've been going for this, I think, for the last 2 hours now. I think we've been going. It's been a very interesting live, very diverse, about everything that's going on. So, it's really good to cross a lot of different aspects of life. I think this year coming forward is going to be, a very good year of revelation. It's going to reveal a lot to us out of the dropping of the ball of the general system, as it were, which will reveal a lot to us as well at the same time. And so we're going to understand a lot through the geological, the physical, the emotional, the whole sort of kit kat and caboodle, as it were. So, English Irish. Yeah, you're in Australia, but you're English Irish. All right, okay. On my mother's side, and Persian Iberian on your father's side. Nice mix. Yeah, I'm just Irish, Scottish, and English. No night, Julie. I'll see you maybe this week, hopefully. At some point, we've got to get that sort of all together, as it were. Follow on from the thing. Hang on a second. I've missed quite a few sort of thingies. That group visiting area is when. And do you have any info? Yeah, I will do it. It'll be coming out in January. It's going to be in June. So I'm going to try and tie it in with the summer solstice as well, and the Northern Hemisphere summer solstice. It's over 2 weeks, so we do a workshop in the first week, and then go off visiting the central points of the Mary Magdalene, Sarah Jesus story that's down in the Pyrenees for a week, and then come back and then do another workshop on the auras or chakras and so forth, all within the foothills of the Pyrenees. So it should be a good couple of weeks, all inclusive, because that's the only way in which we can do it. So unfortunately, I've got to do the whole inclusive thing where, provide house, transport, food and everything like that. There's no other way really of doing it. It becomes too very complicated. So, but yeah, it will be coming out next week. So, I'll give you the full information, as it were, when it does come out. Nikota, yes, yes to Hebrew, but many different sections. In a sense, look up Cyrus the Great. When he took over, he was a believer. Everyone has a choice of whatever their religion. He built a temple for them. Okay, that's really good. So yeah, I think that's. I'll go along with that. One thing is obvious, truths are coming out finally. They certainly are. Good night, Julie. See you soon. Yes. Night, Julie. Blessings. They were previously slaves in Iraq and Iran. When the Cyrus became king, he released a lot of the religions to be their own free will choice. Excellent. It's a bit like Moses and stuff like that. I'd better get my passport. You better get a passport. Yeah, you need a passport, unfortunately, especially if you're not, if you don't live in France. I think the temple was Jerusalem. You would need to check. Okay, it's very possible. Very possible. But yes, thanking you all very much for being here. It's always fantastic to explore life. Very enjoyable, and I hope it helps everybody find a solution for what they're living at this present time. Much joy to you as you go forth in life. Thank you for subscribing, liking, sharing, and all of that malarkey. And yes, I will see you soon. I will see you at some point in the very near future. In the meantime, don't forget, life should be fun. So please do enjoy.